Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to give you an idea of how Survival Hunters are going to play. Yes, Survival Hunters are now available on the alpha, which is recently just updated to have a lot more content, well at least more than just the basic Demon Hunter starting zone. So what I'm going to do in this video is first show you the core abilities of this spec. I'm then going to go through more of the abilities. After that I'll go through the talents, then I'll go through the artifact weapon stuff, and then we'll go through how it actually plays and go over to the Broken Isles and fight a few mobs. So first of all, the entire spec basically hinges on a few abilities, and these are the key abilities. So first of all, Raptor Strike, 25 focus. It does medium damage, essentially it's just filler, it's not really that important. Next we've got Laceration, 35 focus. It does very heavy damage over 12 seconds, so that's absolutely a very focus efficient spell that you should use on cooldown. Next, Flanking Strike. So you and your pet attack the target. You deal 19,000 damage, they do 11,000 damage. If the target attacks you, then your pet's damage is 50% increased, as is its threat. If not, your attack does 50% increased damage. And Flanking Strike has double the chance to trigger your mastery, and I will explain that after I explain Mongoose Bite. So Mongoose Bite is melee range, it's got 3 charges and a 10-second cooldown per charge. This does very heavy damage, but every time you use Mongoose Strike, or Mongoose Bite, you get a buff which increases the damage of your next Mongoose Bite by 50%, and that buff lasts for 3.5 seconds. Now it stacks up to 6 times, and you might be thinking, hang on a second. This stacks up to 6 times, lasts 3 seconds, but you only have a 10-second recharge. That obviously means there's going to be a way of getting more of them than just the recharges, and that would be via our mastery. So let's look at the mastery. And this is called Hunting Companion, so your pet's attacks have a chance to give you an additional charge of Mongoose Bite. So that's basically how this spec works. It's all about Mongoose Bite management. So in reality, what's going to happen is that you will do a Mongoose Bite, then you'll do another ability, and then you'll do a Mongoose Bite. You want to spread your Mongoose Bites out as much as you possibly can, while still maintaining its stacking effect. Now, because its duration is 3.5 seconds on the buff, that means you can do a Mongoose Bite, which gives you the buff, and then another ability during the buff, and then another Mongoose Bite, which will be done at roughly the end of the buff from your original Mongoose Strike. Okay, so let's see what this is like in action. So I walk up here and look at the top right of my screen for the buff. So I hit 2, so Mongoose Bite, then I hit Laceration, Mongoose Bite, Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite, Flanking Strike. Can we squeeze in Mongoose Bite? No, we didn't, because it didn't proc another charge. So let's do a Laceration, and now we're at the stage where we've used all of our charges of Mongoose Bite, so what we should really do now is just wait until that generates 3, and once that generates 3 charges, then we'll be thinking about Mongoose Bites again. Until then, it's just a matter of using Flanking Strike and Laceration on cooldown, and then Raptor Strike as a filler. You'll also notice that I've got no focus generating ability. There's no focus generation, it happens passively, but Mongoose Bite doesn't actually cost any focus. So let's do that one more time, and then we'll look at more abilities. So, Mongoose Bite, Laceration, Mongoose Bite, Flanking Strike. Hopefully this will proc. I really would like it to proc for us. And it hasn't procced, that's very unfortunate, but that's basically how the gameplay works. We'll be able to do more things once I show you the other abilities. So, other abilities. Harpoon, basically, it does this. You throw a harpoon, and you race yourself up to the target. Essentially, it's a reverse death grip. Here is Carve, this is a frontal cone AoE, like that. We've got Snake Hunter, which is a talent, Sentry Turret, which is a talent. Aspect of the Cheetah is different, increases movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds, and then 30% for another 9 seconds. That's super powerful, so a 3-second super fast charge, and then 9 seconds of running pretty quickly. Next, we've got Aspect of the Eagle. This increases the crit chance of all of your skills and your pet attacks by 10%, and increases your chance to gain a charge of Mongoose Bite by 100% for 10 seconds. Or whatever. So basically, you get more Mongoose Bites, you do more critical damage. There's Flare, it is what it is. Exhilaration, pretty much the same thing. Feign Death, what you'd expect. Disengage is again the same thing. An Aspect of the Turtle, which is essentially our version of Deterrence. Down here we've got Freezing Trap, which is what it is. Explosive Trap, which remains the same. And there's also Tar Trap, which is the replacement for Ice Trap, so it just slows targets. Now, one of my talents replaces Tar Trap with Caltrops, but we can get into that later. And then we've got Muzzle, which is our Interrupt. That's pretty much all things. This Fury of the Eagle thing's from my weapon, and Sticky Bomb is a talent. So let's just quickly go over the talents. Right then, Animal Instincts. When you attack with Flanking Strike, you get a buff from your pet. And I assume there will be some gameplay involved with reacting to that, but right now it doesn't really matter, it's only alpha. Improved Traps. The cooldown of your traps is reduced by 15 seconds. Way of the Muck and Thol. Attacking with Raptor Strike gives you a stack of a buff that increases your attack power by 5% for 8 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. So again, if you've got Way of the Muck and Thol, you can pretty much maintain uptime on that through doing your normal rotation. Essentially, that enforces you in a rotation that's super strict and super rigid, I would imagine, that doesn't really allow for many mistakes. Next, we've got Post Haste. It does exactly what it does now. Far Strider just gives disengage 2 targets. Dash increases the duration of aspect of the cheetah by 3 seconds. Caltrops is the same as Ice Trap, or Tar Trap in Legion, just that it does damage. Steel Trap is the same as Freezing Trap, just that it does a heavy bleed. And then Ranger's Net is a 40-yard wing clip that costs 30 focus. So that's pretty powerful. In the level 60 range, we've got Sticky Bomb. This does light damage but knocks the target back. Then we've got Camouflage, which pretty much is what it is now. And then Throwing Axes, which will toss 3 axes at a target, dealing 2,500 damage each, or for each axe, and I guess that's just a way of attacking from range. Thrill of the Hunt, I don't know why this is here, because we don't use aim shots or multi-shots, so something's a bit weird there. We've got Dragon's Fire Trap. This is essentially an explosive trap, which is a little bit more buffed, so it does 8,000 damage over 8 seconds, and then it sends the enemy into a state of panic, which makes them run around the place on fire, dealing damage to nearby allies. We've then got Snake Hunter. Instantly get 3 charges of Mongoose Bite. I think that's going to be the single target DPS one. Then we've got, in the level 90 range, Butchery. This will apply Laceration to a target that's hit by Carve, so that's great for spreading your dots. We've got Mortal Wounds. When Laceration does a tick, you have a chance of gaining a charge of Mongoose Bite. That's what I'm going with currently, because it means more Mongoose Bites. And then Serpent Sting, which will cause the targets hit by your Raptor Strike or Carve to be afflicted by Serpent Sting, which does damage over 15 seconds. For the level 100 tier, we've got Sentry Turret. This just drops the turret for 15 seconds, which attacks enemies. Pretty simple, pretty passive. Expert Trapper will augment your trap. So Freezing Trap will slow enemies after it breaks. Explosive Trap will deal, I think, just more damage. Yeah, more damage per second. Tar Trap has a chance of rooting people. Steel Trap will do some instant physical damage, and then Dragon's Fire Trap will cause all of the enemies to run around and panic and damage the other enemy, so basically it's a kind of viral version of Dragon's Fire Trap. And then finally we've got Aspect of the Beast. Now this is based off Kill Command here. We have Flanking Strike as our pet attack, so I'm assuming it would work with that. Basically, if your pet's in Ferocity, then it applies a dot. If your pet's in Tenacity, then your pet will take less damage for 15 seconds. And if your pet is in Cunning, then it will slow your target for an amount of time. So, let's finally just look at our artifact weapon and its ability, which is Fury of the Eagle. So this strikes enemies in a cone, dealing damage to them based on the stacks of Mongoose Bite. It seems like if you're in a situation where you have really high stacks of Mongoose Bite, and you know you're not going to be able to refresh them, so basically you know you're going to lose all of your stacks, then you use Fury of the Eagle as your kind of finisher. So let's just jump into combat here and see how it goes. We're going to do a Mongoose, then we're going to do a Laceration, and then a Mongoose, then a Flank, then another Mongoose, and we'll pop Snake Hunter just to make sure we have a Mongoose to use. Let's Lacerate again. I'm going to use Aspect of the Eagle to keep the crazy Mongoose Bite stacks going. As you can see, we're up at 6 stacks now. And we're actually maintaining our stacks pretty damn well. Yep, still at 6 stacks, but we're going to need some procs soon enough. Yeah, this is lasting really long. That's pretty nice. Now, one thing, and I'm just going to finish it off by using my artifact weapon, which currently has got a bit of a bugged animation to it. In terms of other things, here's a look at the turret. Honestly, its animations aren't finished. Looks kind of pants at the minute, but hopefully they would improve that, make it look a little bit better. Let's just use the Sticky Bomb. See what that does. Obviously not that much, because you can't really knock back a target dummy. In terms of the traps look a little bit different now. And that's just a look at what the Caltrops one does. That's really most of our core combat abilities. The way this spec works is RNG management, and it punishes bad decision making. So you have a sort of a leeway of one spell, right? So you can do a Mongoose Bite, then any other single spell, and then you have to do another Mongoose Bite, or else you're going to lose your stacks. That means if a player is not very experienced, or, is kind of newbie, whatever, and they're just blasting all their Mongoose Bites, or maybe they're, say doing a Mongoose Bite, a Lacerate, then a Flanking Strike, that's going to be bad. I actually like that element of gameplay. It's punishing against mistakes. That's really good. However, it's very RNG dependent. That's definitely a worry. And actually, if you look through this, none of these core abilities here, these like sort of little small ones, will increase the chance of you getting a charge of Mongoose Bite, and none of these big ones at the end will do that either. And just for your information, the sort of big effects at the end of your artifact talent tree are Harpoon applies on the trail, which is a dot that deals damage over 12 seconds that's refreshed by auto attacks. You've got From Behind, which causes your Mongoose Strike... Well, when your pet generates a Mongoose Strike charge, you get 5% crit for 6 seconds. And then finally, Aspect of the Skylord, which will cause your Eagle to increase damage by 30% while active. So this is going to be RNG dependent. However, good players will do a lot better than poor players. A lot better. It's also designed so that it's, it's about pacing out your Mongoose Strikes, or your Mongoose Bites. If you use them all at once, then you're doing it wrong. What you want to do is use a Mongoose Bite, then a Filler, then a Mongoose Bite, and try to eke it out for as long as you possibly can, so that the various elements of RNG can work their magic to generate you more free stacks of Mongoose Bite. Now, that we've done all this talking, let's head into the world of Legion and actually kill some stuff and see what it's like in action. Okay then, so I'm here in the very picturesque High Mountain. I mean, wow, this zone is just really impressive looking, and we're going to be terrorizing the local wildlife for the sake of showing you how this spec plays. Pretty sure, yeah, there's some mobs over here. Right then, let's dismount and get into combat. So, I will go in, going to apply Laceration, and then a Mongoose Bite, then a Flanking Strike, then a Mongoose Bite, then a Raptor Strike, another Mongoose Bite. We're going to apply our thingy to instantly generate some so we don't lose our stacks. And we essentially just keep on going like this. And yeah, we do a lot of damage. And that's basically how this spec plays. It's a very simple rotation. You've got some stuff to watch out for. Right now, there's a lot of looking at your action bars to see when your Mongoose Strike stacks are going. That's maybe a little bit unfortunate. It's the kind of thing, you'll throw up a weak aura or a tell me when to deal with that, so it's a little bit nicer to play in-game. Overall, it feels like they do a lot of damage currently. I mean, you really do just shred your way through mobs. It's kind of insane. Let's just see how much damage that turret does. So I'll do the sentry turret and pull this guy, and we will see what the sentry turret is able to make happen. Not a great deal by the looks of things. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, let's just kill these two guys and then we'll probably wrap the video up a little bit. So I've just used Aspect of the Hawk. That's going to give us a pretty crazy regen of our Mongoose Bites. In fact, we should be able to reach 6 stacks pretty handily. Try to get myself over here before I lose the stack. Now, one issue that this spec does have, which is a little bit concerning, is lag can really bone it. There is not enough tolerance with Mongoose Bite's timings so that you could do a Mongoose Bite and then lag a little bit and say do a Flanking Strike and then do another Mongoose Bite. If the lag is bad, even bad-ish, like to the, to sort of regular acceptable-ish standards, then you might miss out on things. So I don't know what this is going to be like in some systems or internet configurations. So that's essentially a look at the spec. A lot of RNG dependency, a little bit of skill. Overall, I've found it to be very easy to pick up, very easy to play. It's satisfying enough in terms of its gameplay in the context of just rambling around the world, harpooning from mob to mob. That's actually quite fun. And its more enhanced trap mechanics are pretty cool as well. But there is a concern about DPS variance from pool to pool, within raids, and also within the challenge mode dungeons. I don't know how that's going to affect things. It's too early to call it right now. That's a little bit of a concern. But I think some of the elements of this at a base level are decently engaging. We're going to have to wait and see more, but let me know what you think about this gameplay down in the comments of the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.